Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Love ya. Caleb here. Bernie Sanders is an American politician. He often references Scandinavian countries and how they do things better with, he calls himself a socialist. He thinks it's a good term. Okay, often I'll hear from Europeans that they're not socialist. They have some socialist leaning policies. And I think that's more of an accurate description because they are mostly capitalist societies, but they have some policies to help, especially help people who need help, which I think is great. I want to say that what I hear a lot of the time from American politicians is they do this thing, so we can do this thing. This country does it this way, so we can do it this way, which on paper, yes, is true. We can physically do that. But due to many issues in America, it's not as easy as just going, let's do it. Ultimately, most human problems come down to a moral issue, and I think it's certainly the case in this. On top of that, if you have a bad incentive system or bad structure of government, etc., it's going to make that even worse. Just give you an example, in China, if you injure someone, you can be sued and you might have to pay their medical bills for the rest of their life if you hit someone with your car. If you kill them, you might just have to pay for their gravestone. That creates an incentive system where if someone hits you with their car, they might back up and try to hit you again to kill you. And this is documented. You can look it up if you don't believe me. Anyway,
Will never pay more than $350 a year for healthcare or medicines.
All right, let me stop. Well, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I want to make this point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you are saying if God forbid somebody ends up in a hospital, they have cancer, they're in the hospital for weeks, they undergo major surgery, they need all kinds of sophisticated drugs. The maximum that person will pay in a given year is $350. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. That's correct.
That means that just being a Norwegian citizen, I am entitled to health care. Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Yes. You're entitled to it.
And everybody is covered.
Everybody is covered.
How much does it cost me to go to college in Norway?
The college is free. Yeah.
And graduate school is free as well?
Yeah. Everything is free.
Let's say I go to get a job in McDonald's. You have McDonald's in Norway, right? Everybody has a McDonald's. And I'm flipping hamburgers. How much do I make?
$20 per hour.
Please repeat that.
$20 per hour.
$20 per hour.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will have health care as a result of the healthcare system.
Yes. That has nothing to do with work. The healthcare is there anyway.
See, what a radical idea not to have healthcare attached to your job. That it's there.
that is huge, I'd say. And I think it's a travesty that America, I could go on about the healthcare system, how bad it is in America, but it's a travesty that's attached to your job because people will stay at a terrible job because they get some sort of discount on healthcare through their employer. And it makes it complicated for the employer too if they have to legally provide healthcare. And there's a lot of competing healthcare providers, and they are often for profit, so they're trying to get as much money out of the system instead of just helping people, and so on and so forth. Anyway, continue.
There for everybody. But that's another story. Okay. Did everybody hear what you just said? Okay. We live in a country where there's zero paid family and medical leave. So I hear you correctly. You're talking about 1 year of fully paid leave. Is that correct when you have a baby?
That's correct. Sick leave rights. So we have a right to a sick leave. If you're sick a day, you still get the full pay. Vacations, 28 days of vacation per year.
Oh, stop. Let me just jump it again. All right. Everybody hear what the ambassador said. Correct me if I'm wrong. You just said every Norwegian gets 28 days of paid vacation.
Yes, I could be wrong. It could be 25. Some have 28, but it's at least 25. So the CEO is 11 times more the average. So that is the.
Let me interrupt you. I don't mean to be rude. I just want to interrupt you. What the ambassador just said is that in Norway, the ratio of CEOs of their major corporations compared to the average worker is 11 to 1. In this country, it is 350 to 1.
So let me interrupt him interrupting there. This, I was going to stop it before, but I wanted to try to play it out as much so I'm not constantly interrupting. This, I think, is a really great indicator of the American... Hey! My cat just jumped on the blinds. This right here points to indirectly the biggest problem in America. So you think, okay, wealth inequality, these people are selfish. 351, that's insane. I think it is insane. Let's go beyond that. Why do these people keep aggregating wealth? Why are they selfish? America has a huge... Basically, the entirety of America is sort of people trying to be the best, trying to be number one, trying to win. Nobody wants to be stuck behind. No one really wants to be left out. And if you've ever been in poverty, if you've ever experienced not enough, and especially if no one's helped you in that situation, you will fight tooth and nail to not be there again. At least many people will. Also, if you just have other mental issues, if you were not treated well as a child, even if you grew up with wealth, maybe you were ignored by your parents or weren't taken care of well enough. Maybe your parent was out there making the billions of dollars or something, and they neglected your emotional needs. You're going to go out in the world looking to fill that hole inside of you. And if you already have a lot of money, it takes money to make money. So all you see is your parent pursuing getting more and more money. It's not a huge shock for them to go, well, this is what my parents dedicated their life to. That must be what the point is or what's going to make me happy, so I'm going to do that also. The next point, since the video is pretty much over, let me finish this.
Somewhat of a difference.
Okay, it was pretty much over. Next point is, he says all these things, which are great, and I love it, but there's not even a discussion of how we can fix it in America. It's easy to say, let's make the legislation, let's make it so that everyone gets this thing. Okay, how do we do that? How do we go about it? You have to have people on board with the system, and these laws have to be passed, these rights have to be passed. Bribery is essentially legal in America. What would happen if, let's take healthcare. I was just recently talking about this in another video. If you tried to make healthcare free for everybody or very cheap, you would get intense backlash from many, if not all, of the major recipients of the money of the current healthcare system. A lot of huge for-profit companies, they might give a certain amount of money to certain candidates each year. Then if the people who are in power, who get voted in from giving money to the campaigns, then go, okay, we're thinking about making this law that causes you to not make as much money or a lot less money or no money. They're going to go, okay, well, I'm not going to give you money for your campaign then. So you can see the incentive system is way off there, and it's essentially more and more creating an oligarchy type of system. You know, it's no surprise that the wealth inequality is quite insane in America. One thing is a major rehaul in the morality of America, which is, I'm Christian, so I would say if if people could try to really follow by the Bible, which is being loving, is supposed to be the core of Christianity. If they did some sort of program, if they tried to pass something, I think it would be very similar to how the other programs that are supposed to help poor people are run. Most of them are very bad. It will be most of the money will be going to contractors, bureaucrats, again, oligarchs, people who are implementing this new program or system. A small fraction of it will be going to actually help people. Also, it's just different. You're dealing with much more severe issues often in America, and it's not as though we can turn things around so easily in America. There are some people, I watched a video about, drug addict in Norway. So there are some people like that in Norway, but it's far worse in America. So it would be a much bigger overhaul. It's much harder to change things because we have many more people who have severe mental health issues, addiction issues, etc., etc. I think the biggest issue in America is fear. And if you don't get rid of that, if you don't get that out of yourself, you're going to be always operating out of that. Most likely subconsciously, but could be consciously. I do also want to say that wealth inequality is not inherently a bad thing. And you might think that sounds crazy, but if you give me a second to hear me out, I'll explain why. Let's just say hypothetically there was one person who had a 10,000 IQ, and they were a very hard worker, and let's say they're not evil, they're trying to do good, okay? It would be in the best interest of everybody for them to have a massive amount of money so that they can get things done with that money to help the rest of the country. If you tax that person at some insane rate, it looks like if they have 10,000 IQ and they're a hard worker, they have a lot of energy, 99% tax rate would be fair because they have such an advantage over everyone else. But even if it's 50% or something, I think it's too much. I think just tax in and of itself on income, that's not good. I think you should tax that person based on how much money they spend on themselves. So mostly ultra high taxes on luxury things, and then the more and more valuable something is that somebody's spending on themselves, the less tax. So food, zero tax. Car, house, very little tax, maybe none. Vacation type things, media, maybe a small to medium percent of tax, and then things like Gucci products or a third mansion, ultra high taxes on that. For a billionaire, paying 1,000% tax on a $10 million house is still not that bad for them. Comparatively, that's still less than 10% of their net worth, whereas a normal person who's just trying to get one house, they're probably paying multiple times more of their net worth to get a house, and they have to get a loan, and so on and so forth. I think it's cool that Bernie puts a spotlight on Norway. I'm maybe the biggest advocate for Norway, the biggest champion of Norway. I really love Norway. I think it's probably the best country in the world, at least on paper. So I hope these points made sense to people. If you want more explanation of various things, let me know and I can make more videos about each detail. But yeah, thank you for watching. Love you. If you would, like and comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. But if not, that's fine. Take care.